Welcome everybody to this Friday night Charles show. Stuff's going crazy. Like I said, I'm popping circuit breakers. I got some weird audio reverb stuff going on, so I'm gonna do my best to stay on here and try to help all y'all on a one case by case basis. Thank you for joining my live. This is a free for all. Ask any and all questions. I'll do my best to give you the guidance that I can. All right, so Truth Professor, hey, you mentioned our creators the other day. Is that like the Elohim or the seven gods? Yes, that's the Elohim, as in the beginning when it's talking about Yah. And Elohim is, when you look it up, it means the judges, the rulers. That's who I call the creators. Those are the ones that in day 6, or when Adam was created, said, "Let us make man in our image and our likeness." Those are the angels. Those are the ones that are sent to basically help craft and create us into the image of the creators, which is, basically an angel that can speak through us and or for the voice of God. And if you look all through the Bible, you'll see also where it says that when God is speaking, it's through an angel or through a human, or through an entity through a human. Even I think it says it opens the mouth of a donkey to speak as well, which is also a human, because we're called animals all throughout the Bible. All right, so Shane Mining, sound is good. Thank you, I appreciate it. I'm glad. I was just hoping there's no reverb. Like I said, I got my new speaker system was picking up my Wi-Fi, and it sounded crazy. It was like a helicopter going, and if I put my hand near it, it would stop. If I pulled my hand away, it would go. So I had to move this thing in some weird direction to try to keep the my daggone speaker from picking up my Wi-Fi. It's wild. I don't know what's going on around this sucker. All right. I went down that DTC rabbit hole. How long ago? It's There was a lot of miscommunication with Pastor Tony King, who was trying to say he was leading 144,000 through the DTC a long time ago, and he just kept putting out promises and it never happened. And I actually was trained by someone who ended up having to sign an NDA because of how deep into it he went and was going through it. And then I don't know if this is by design or what happened, but shortly thereafter, he started teaching about how to get true land titles, and then next thing I know, he dies. And I'm talking obituary, front page. I didn't fly out there to see him, but he had an obituary, and he was basically deceased, and he had been sick. He went through a stroke and kind of ended. His audio files are on my website as well if y'all want to listen to them. All right, so Truth Professor. Remember the 7 gods looking down on the firmament in the clash of the Titans. Yeah, I remember that. And there's also 7 gifts that can be given as well. 7 is a very important number, and so is 8. So the 8th day is the day of completion after you've made through the 7-day walk, and become the 8th is I think in gematria is actually divine governance. It is the completion. So the 7th day is basically after you've translated from this natural temporary flesh body frame and you go on to the next level, and you're basically it's a never-ending game, and you continue to grow as you want to, as much as you can, as much as you can handle yourself. My research has shown is basically we're all fractals of the Creator, and we are testing ourselves. We've put this whole display on to test ourselves because we're basically already one with the Creator, and it's just kind of a deceiving test where we look like we all have different bodies. And I've even heard of people who take mushrooms and stuff, and they're able to unlock parts of their brain where they can see that we're actually all one. But like I said, my studies show that we're all tied together in the natural light, the spiritual light, and the commercial light, and we're basically all one, but it just kind of looks like we're different. Joined from shorts. All right, where are we at? Thanks for the sharing of the live. Nathan, been watching your videos lately. I'm wondering, do you endorse your bills? No, I do not. You can create a trust from a bill, and you can send it to the DTC, or use a DTC participant number to zap it, and or you can turn it into a trust, and you can send it to the alien property custodian to set off, settle, and close. And if you look up and start learning in chancery and trust law, it is enforceable. Trusts are very enforceable, and you'll win. It's just you got to pick your battles. That's what this whole walk is all about. What do you want to spend your time on? What do you want to engage in? And you got to be very, very careful if you're going to start engaging in certain things that you're very unaware of and not enlightened, because you don't know what you don't know. And that's what I'm trying to display when I make videos talking about, people coming in and doing interviews for you if you incorrectly file an EQ form, because a lot of people put out misinformation on accident. And when people are being authentic and they think that they're teaching the truth, it seems very believable, very likable, and a lot of times it has a little bit of truth in it. And some of the stuff is put out to purposely mislead people. And when you start becoming awake, all this stuff spreads like wildfire amongst the people that are able to see beyond what's going on for the mainstream media public that keeps everybody kind of blinded in lockstep. So, it just takes, you have to use discernment, right? So that's why I love to lay foundations. You lay foundations, simple things that can't be shaken, like you can control what you create, right? If you don't want to govern yourself, it will be done for you. Simple things like that. There's some maxims that you can hold under your belt that you can just test things, So when someone presents something to you, because I have gone down a lot of rabbit trails myself, because everything seems so lovely and so enlightening when you first start to hear it and read it, because it's like, oh, the mainstream doesn't want you to know this. Share it before it gets taken down. All these little clickbait tricks that get sent out like crazy. And there's so much misinformation that gets pushed like wildfire that it's nuts. And then sometimes the real good truth either gets suppressed or gets banned. And there's a lot of times when I'll put out something like my disclaimer video. The disclaimer video that is pinned at the top of my profile, I tried to appeal that. They said it was as interesting or as bland as a QR code. I appealed that like 5 months ago, and it still hasn't been accepted, because it will not go out to anybody's For You feed. And all I'm basically saying is just be careful. If you're going to be walking down this path, you're going to be alienated, because it's not, taught in the mainstream media and stuff like that. And it's basically, puts you and alienates yourself, because you're stepping yourself and your frequency up and above and beyond everybody, even though we're all one, right? On a high level. Black Swan, what is up? How you doing? I'm enjoying coming on here at a later time at night, because I'm able to engage with much more people, because they're getting off work. They have a little more time to relax and get set up and situated. As in before, with my old office, I was coming on about 3 or 4 hours earlier. Black Swan, I can tell you have been researching more on the DTC. Yeah, I've been doing a little more on it. That's why I started releasing some of that stuff. It's time to release some of it. Now, of course, I'm being somewhat encryptic, but I'm also trying to be very cautious for people that can't handle any of this stuff. And you don't give, basically machine guns or machetes to rabbits and then say, go have fun. I wouldn't give my kid, the positive and negative sides to a jump starter for a car battery, because the first thing they're going to do is touch the positive and negative together. But being very safe and cautious is good, and that's why I put things out, and I can lead people to the water. But if they don't want to drink, then that's all up to them. So I appreciate all you guys coming on here. If you want a recap of this live, the recording of the video will be posted on my YouTube channel. All of my social medias are linked on my profile page of TikTok on my website. My website is Anointed New Foundation of .life and Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life. And all my social media is on there. The audio of this recording will be posted in my Telegram group. I have exclusive content on all my social medias, and I have playlists to help re-educate everybody on the foundations of nature, spirit, and commerce that can help everybody kind of understand how everything's all tied together and how we're all woven into this. Black Swan, did you just get on? Yes, I did. I've just got on. I've been on here for 13 minutes. And I try to usually stay on for an hour answering any and all questions as they come my way. And I had some stuff. This is where being nice comes back to bite you, right? I was driving down the road 2-3 days ago, and a guy tries to do a U-turn. I look down at my phone. The light turns green. Everybody's moving forward. I glance down at my phone. I look up. There's a car going right in front of me. I thought I screwed up. And this dude tried to do a U-turn around me. He tried to go from the right side of me while I'm traveling and do a U-turn around me while we're moving. I hit his bumper hard, put a nice dent in it. We pull over. I look. His car's all smashed up. I didn't see one scratch on my car. I was like, dang, man. I'm like, are you good? He's like, yeah. He's like, you good? I'm like, yeah, we're good. We're good. So we just kind of, I didn't know if he had warrants or drugs or whatever. So we just went separate ways, because I don't want to cause him a lot of trouble. I was like, I can pull your dent out. I got a dent puller. And he's like, no, I work at an auto body shop. I'm like, cool, man. We went separate ways. Boom. I get driving over the bridge, and next thing I know, my freaking radiator, I thought it was the radiator, but it ends up being the compressor for my AC, starts bleeding out. And I was like, son of a gun. I'm a man of my word, so I ain't trying to backtrack. I did take a picture of dude's car, so I could have pulled him up, and I was under the impression that he was worse off than me. But next thing I know, I'm going over this bridge, my car's smoking, and I'm like, dang, I'm missing my front license plate that I didn't glance. Like, you could tell I would be a terrible cop if I was ever investigated, because I didn't even notice my license plate was missing. So next thing you know, I'm parked in the garage, and I'm like, dang, man, my freaking compressor. So now my AC's out. So I'm like, dang. And I sweat. Like, if it gets above 80 degrees, like, this gringo is sweating. So I'm like, dang. So I took it to auto body shop, $1,500. Just straight ate that to the face just so I could have AC, because I'll tell you what, I get sweaty. I don't like that stuff. But anyway, yeah, that was a pain in the butt. That just happened recently, and like I said, right before I came on this live, I freaking tripped a circuit breaker in here, and I was about to go on. I was seconds away, and it was like boom, and I'm like, man, something. I don't know if I should go on, but I'm pushing through. So anyway, let me answer some of these questions. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, just got on. Thanks for all the sharing and the likes and the follows. Man, I have been dealing with so much BS lately. Saying, I believe it, man. We all got our own. Everybody could write their own books, and it would be insane, right? Because that's what's the beauty about equity is in love and coming from peace and harmony and understanding all these frequencies and stuff, is that we all have our own individual beautiful walks, even though we're all one and all tied together at the same time. So it can get confusing, and it can actually cause people to go crazy. But it's always important to come from love. Like, nobody told you what to wear this morning. Nobody told you when to brush your teeth. We're all basically divine sovereign judges that make up decisions on a case-by-case, minute-by-minute basis. And that is what the Bible continuously teaches and preaches, talking about by not being bound by the written law. Even though the written law has its purpose in place by binding everybody and keeping everybody in guidelines and rails and stuff. Thank you for the lights. But you should always use righteous judgment on every single case-by-case basis, and that is what equity is, and peace and coming from love. Like, you can study all the codes, policies, statutes, and public like all that stuff for the rest of your life, and you would never ever learn them all, because they just continue to make them day by day by day by day by day. Now, when you're trying to contract with another sovereign, yes, by all means, box in, contract, and make those obligations, and try to make it airtight for people, to do business together, because that's what it's all about when you're trying to make your own law and coming up with your own contract and stuff. But when it comes to public policy codes and procedures, there will never ever stop being enough codes made. So continuously throughout the Bible, it warns about being bound by the written law, because you're sovereign. You can create your own law. And that's just one of those important rules, the foundations that I laid, that I understand, that can't be shaken, and I know of. And what's unfortunate about a lot of the indoctrinated sheeple out there is they are so complacent, and they lean on the law so hard with all their mind, body, and soul that they trust the government. It's so crazy. I've been learning a lot of the psychology, the difference between men and women, because a man can look at a woman and instantly be like, yo, I want that girl. It don't matter what her personality's like. It don't matter what teeth she got or nothing. Like, if she's hot, like, boom, I want her. But women are so unique in the way that they like, that's why you'll see like a smoking hot chick with like an ugly dude, because it's all about like a guy's come from. Like, even if the guy is more desirable to other women, even if he's bald, even if he's weird looking, if other women want him, it's like other women can feed off that and they want him. It's like, oh, he's taken. Oh yeah, like he must be good. So it's like he's more desirable and stuff like that. Even if he wasn't attractive, they've done studies where even if you tell a woman to judge a man's hand. Like, first they did it on faces. They're like, do you find this guy attractive? And they'll rate him. And then if you tell them that other women rated him higher, they will rate him higher. They even did it with a hand. They took away the face. They were just like, rate this hand. And they rated the hand higher because other women had rated it higher. Simply because that. Now, that does not work in reverse. Like, if a really unattractive woman is with a really handsome man, that does not make that woman more attractive to a man. It doesn't work in reverse. And as I continue to learn the psychology between men and women, it's like It is a whole completely different ball game. Like, people want what they can't have, and a lot of times men want to bend over backwards and do everything they can in the world for a woman, and all that does is push them away, because you have to do something called playfully challenge them. Okay, whenever you're approaching a woman, you have to playfully challenge them, and to let them know that you're confident and you're not intimidated by them, and you're able to kind of put them in a check game, because these women are walking around. If you ask any woman, what problems in society are women held accountable for, they'll have deers in a headlight, right? But if you ask anybody what problems in society are men held accountable for, it'll be like, oh, all of them, right? So it's just kind of weird things that the way the society is gearing up and aiming for everybody, it's just getting wild. All right, so let me back up. I think there's a lot of people on here. So what you been going on with Black Swan? That's crazy. The hen. What is the scoop on the zip +4 and the 8888999? So the zip code was put out as a false, basically, it's tied in through the Buck Act. It's a blanketed false, like, laminate put over the entire United States of America, okay? And basically that's how the U.S., which is located in the District of Columbia, basically puts out a false federal jurisdiction over the entire land. And if you look, all of the IRS stations are not actually in. They're in the zip-coded Social Security Administration's basically regions, which is a federal zone. So all these zones have been federalized, and it's basically like a false federal jurisdiction that's been laid over the land and over top of the republic. The republic is still there and dormant. They're just not trading in gold and silver for debt obligations. But you can invoke it. You can invoke the republican form of government anytime you want by either using the postal service through non-domestic, or trading in gold and silver, or being sovereign. You can take colonial title over your own property and basically have a parcel that is your fiefdom, if that's what you want to claim your post from. But zip codes, the 888, 889s and 999s type stuff, that's kind of put in the system as an unknown jurisdiction, which you got to be careful if you're trying to mess around with some of that stuff, because if you don't have your own true allodial title, you really don't want to mess with 999s and 8999s and some post, like if you're trying to do a post box or a post box office, that's a non-contracting venue for certain things. Like banks do not want to contract with anybody who's using a PO box and stuff like that. So, like I said, again, you got to be careful with jurisdictions. The Postal Service has like a public side, a private side. The U.S. has a public side, a private side. The Republic has a kind of basically all private and held dormant and stuff like that. And there's a lot of different jurisdictions that you got to be careful when you start trying to invoke stuff. But you as a sovereign, you can invoke any of them, and you can also send mail for 3 cents anywhere in America by basically coming from the Republican form of government, non-domestic general delivery without the United States, which was one of the first cool things that I learned when I was like, oh, wow, yeah, the U.S. is actually in the District of Columbia. And through the Buck Act, they put a blanketed fake false federal jurisdiction over the entire land, and that's kind of what they use as their domain. It's like a board game. It's just, they're big kids' puzzles, and it takes time to try to understand all this stuff. But anyway, Truth Professor, I could only find 2 videos on allodial titles in your commerce folder. Are there any more? Were there videos or audios? Did you go to Commerce Home? You got to go into Commerce and Home, and then there's probably more audio files in the class folder. But if you go into Commerce Home on my website, you should be able to find more information on Home. And if you go into David Straight, so you go into Commerce class, David Straight, he talks about it too, but it's like it's buried in one of his seminars and stuff. He also talks about enforcement and stuff. Black Swan is crazy though. Like, dang, yeah, man. I don't know if you're able to tell me, or you can DM me. I don't know what's going on with you, buddy. Let me get down here some of these lives. Tiffany Walker, I can't say I'm working. What do you want to say? What, did I miss something? Legend, the legendary MF. Women want what other women want. Yeah, it's so weird how they operate, but it's kind of unique and beautiful because we as men aren't taught it. For instance, like I started learning dancing a little bit, and a leader in dancing, like in bachata, is very, very behind the ball because girls are all brought up and taught how to dance from a very early age. But when it comes to being a leader, guys aren't taught how to dance till what age? I'm up in there and I'm like, yo, I'm 40 something trying to learn how to dance. Now I'm learning how to be a leader on the dance floor at 40. And these girls have been doing it since they were 10, 11, 12. You know what I'm saying? They've been doing it their whole life. And so you're like way behind the 8 ball by the time you even come in there on the dance floor and start trying to learn stuff. You know, my grandfather wanted me to learn ballroom dancing. I'm like, I ain't dancing to no balls, yo. That's kind of wild. Guys, this video recording will be on my YouTube channel. You can check out the pre-recording if you want to. All my social medias are linked on my website. My website's linked on my profile page of TikTok. I have a Telegram group, a Twitter. I have a TikTok. I have a True Social. I have a few different things and a lot of auxiliary information on my website. All my stuff is free. All my consultations, you can DM me, you can email me, you can call me, you can reach out to me. I try to help people all the time for free. I don't charge for anything. I do accept gifts and donations should you feel led to do that, but that's up to you. I don't ever ask, and I don't treat you any different. So, you know, it's up to you if you want to sow that seed or not. But gifts that you give me are used to help others. Straw Stacker, thank you for the hanging lights. Much appreciated. All right, so Tiffany Walker, stay where? Yeah, I was kind of confused with that comment as well. Not doing research? Why not doing any research? Yeah, the Buck Act, that's right. Light Warrior, are you registering your car or so you have government plate or yourself? I've actually have everything all set up to travel in the Republic through my, I have created an entity that is powerful as a municipal government, and I have basically everything all established and ready to pull that trigger. However, I bought my car from my mom for like $20,000 off because she was just selling it. So I just took it and it was registered and I was going to sell it. And I just decided to keep it because I kind of like it. So one of the pros and cons of having your someone else control the title to your car is you got to pay taxes. You know what I'm saying on it. That's one of the downsides. And then if you apply for the license for the U.S. citizen, which is basically permission to do something illegal, then which is granted to an enemy, then you got to submit an application and you got to abide by all the rules, codes, policies, and statutes of that application as well. And I have videos on traveling and traveling versus driving. And that's kind of how I started this release of commercial knowledge on this platform to begin with anyway, was to try to help people from getting hurt, because this girl was on there who I think has currently been blocked and banned. She was just on there saying, yeah, you could just travel without a license. Yeah, I mean, it is true. That is true. And it's Supreme Court backed up. But guess what? There's a lot to that monkey, you know what I'm saying? It ain't just hop in your car and drive around. Your car, you have to hold true controlling title to it. You should give basically notice to all jurisdictions that you're going to be traveling through it. You should probably put that car into a security agreement or in a trust or something like that. You know, it's like a few different things. And if you get pulled over, what are you going to do then? Do you understand how the different jurisdictions work? If they do you understand how to basically confront your public servant? Because during times of war, they're allowed to inspect and make sure you're not engaged in enemy activities. You know, a lot of people want to say, "Oh, I'm above the law. Screw you, yo. I can do whatever I want," and that's not how it works. Even with diplomatic immunity, if you're going to be rolling around with a whole bunch of narcotics and stuff like that, the police are going to seize it. Like they're going to take you. They're going to put you in custody, and they're going to see if you're on the do not detain list. And if you are, they can deport you, or they can hem you up, because depending on what list you're on, it could be a security. They could be doing a much more bigger investigative because you're a security risk on you, and they'll let you go, and you'll be like, oh yes, I'm free, I'm above the law, yeah. No, what's happening is there's a large federal investigation against you, and they're just compiling and waiting to pull that trigger. That's all that is. If they let you go on a freaking a car violation. Sorry, I'd be going off on a crazy little rant sometime. Light Warrior, sad all of your info is for us, not for Canada. No, all the companies operate the same way. The U.S. is the Federal Reserve, or the reserve for the world's currency. It's all basically controlled by the same people, the same strings. There are different codes and statutes, but I sat on the phone for an hour with somebody, and we were picking through all the codes and policies and statutes, like the big main ones, and he was like, oh yeah, that sounds like this. He was like, oh yeah, that's just like this. Oh yeah, like the Republic is this. Like it's like almost the same thing. It's just different names. I've been very well versed and founded in U.S. codes and policies and statutes during my studies and walked from all my mentors. But again, I talked to a Canadian guy and we walked through all kinds of stuff. I don't know the Canadian codes and policies and statutes and stuff, but it's basically the same way. All the judges are trained in UCC all over the earth, Uniform Commercial Code. All this stuff is, the banking's all the same. I mean, it's all the same, right? It might one might say potato, the other one might say potato, but it's typically at the end of the day, there's still basically you got the Wizard of Oz scheme going on, where since 1933 everything's fiat bankrupt, operating for capital commercial interests. We all have birth certificates, we all have social security cards, and we're all operating franchises of a bankrupt corporation with another little corporation that is getting fleeced by the controllers. All right, so. Truth Professor, don't men love with their eyes and women love with their ears? Yes, and that's why women wear makeup and men tell lies. Right there. Boom, mic drop, out. Yeah, that's one of those funny things I always tell people. Like, guys are visually based, and women are typically more substance based. So guys love form, women love substance. And it's just such a weird, different way of looking at it. But it's really cool. Women are a lot more closely tied to be able to perceive spiritual stuff as well. They're able to receive seeds spiritually and naturally. And, they're very, very, very unique creatures. I will say that for sure. But I love them. Women are amazing. Penny Yosel, I'm new here. Can you tell me what your topic's expertise is? Yeah, Penny. I teach on nature, spirit, and commerce, okay? I have videos that can help outline all of that stuff on my walks that I'm teaching and laying the foundations that I'm laying. Okay, I teach about a spiritual light, a commercial light, and a natural light. I teach about air equity. I teach about earth common law, and I teach about Admiralty International. It's basically air, land, water, positive, negative, neutral, all tied in the middle through love in the middle with you and the creators. We're all basically one in one love. It's all about love and coming from peace and harmony and frequencies, and it depends on your walk and what you want to engage in that I can help lead you down those paths. And on my website, it's basically broken down through nature, spirit, and commerce, because most people can't see or perceive anything beyond nature. Okay, that's like step one. That's like the very beginning. We're all thrown into this natural realm thinking that that's it. And then some people can elevate to understand that there's spirit. There's a spiritual thing behind it, the spark that animates this flesh body frame that helps us all move around. But it just takes time to understand a lot of these things, and that's basically what I started laying down for everybody to understand. Well, I first started with traveling because, again, this girl, and like I said, I was semi-jealous because men are visually based. If I was a woman, there would be 7,000 people on here right now just saying, yeah, turn around, honey, yeah, shake it, you know what I'm saying? But, again, a cute girl, she sent out a video, and it went out to 80,000, 70,000 people or something, and I'm down here getting 100 views, one like, this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this girl's getting ready to send thousands and thousands of people out to get arrested. So I just went ahead and stitched her, and that's how I kind of started this thing, to try to help people understand the truth behind all of this misinformation. And I get challenged all the time. I have people coming on here trying to tell me, oh, I'm wrong, this, that, and the other, and I'm like, cool. Please list any and all inaccuracies at your earliest convenience. And then that's the last I hear from them. They just come on here and they just try to boast and oh yeah. And it really sucks to be taught wrong, but here's the truth, and it's a maxim that's unwritten, okay? It is easier to deceive somebody than it is to convince them that they have been deceived. And I'll say that again. It is easier to deceive someone than it is to convince them that they have been deceived. So trying to wake people up from even indoctrinated outside of mainstream media stuff is super hard. It just is what it is. And in the Bible, they call that a new sack trying to receive old wine, because it will split the sack. It can't handle it. Becky, thank you so much for the rose. Your gifts will be used to help others. I do appreciate you for sowing towards the works that I do. Much appreciated. All right, did I miss any questions? Let me go back. All right, so you said do not detain list is not good, plant eater. No, yeah, it depends on which one of those lists that you're on is whether or not you want to be on it, because I'll be honest with you. My research has shown, unless you're a diplomat, and the only thing that they really get out of is traffic violations. The do not detain list mainly encompass for being a national security risk. And you're basically a terrorist. You're going to be put on lists where they're basically creating a very large investigation against you. Okay, so that is why it's very important whenever you try to do status documents or you start mailing things out to these large corporations that you come from love. You need to basically say, I respect and understand why all the rules and codes and policies are in place to keep everybody in lock. Okay, but I'm not bound by them, but I respect them, which is basically like I understand why this game is in place, because on a very, very high level, and it's so hard to understand and see. Becky, thank you again for the heart, or thank you for the gift. When you get on a very, very high level, the system is somewhat harmonious. We have public servants. We are sovereigns. We can invoke any jurisdiction we want. We can create our own rules, laws, governance. We can use our own currency. We can do all that stuff, okay? But when you get down in the weeds, of course, people abuse power, and there's like corrupt corporate interests running a lot of this stuff. But it's all about getting taught, and I'm here trying to teach the best I can, as fast as I can, to everybody. Nelly, thank you so much for the heart. Y'all's gifts will be used to help others, and I do appreciate that, because I will promote content to help enlighten and open people's eyes and help bring us all together in harmony and unity through these three lights. Penny, is the Federal Reserve really shut down? I have not heard that. Black Swan, thank you for joining the team. Thank you for the gifts. Gifts will be used to help others. Y'all are great. All right. I have not heard that the Federal Reserve is shut down. Star Seeds, y'all are hooking me up. Thank you for the gifts. Love you guys. I did not hear that the Federal Reserve is shut down. I have heard all kinds of things, and sometimes misinformation gets put out. It depends on where you heard that from. Okay, one of the downsides to me being so busy and involved in so many things is I don't watch the mainstream media to see what the sheep are being taught. Starseed, I typically don't do joining of other people on here because it's really hard for me to help other people. I appreciate you trying to come on. I need to do that sometime. I would want to talk with somebody on a one-by-one before we do it, though, typically. Because last time I did it, like, I'm on here trying to help hundreds of people, and I got somebody in the background like scratching their rear end, trying to hiccup, talking about frogs while they're eating cereal and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm on here trying to talk about all this great, amazing things and enlighten people, and this guy's over here burping and stuff. And I'm like, it ain't flying, no dice. So, again, I don't know about the Federal Reserve. If you've heard anything, you can share a link to me or any information you want. It takes a while. I answer any and all DMs. Like I said, you can call me, you can email me, you can write me. It just takes me a little while sometimes to get around and answer questions. Karma, farm bots, man, don't let it bug you too much. Oh, yeah, I know. And some people have to have an enemy or a savior. That's just the way they are geared out there. It's like they always want to look for something outside of themselves to come save them, or something outside of themselves to make them upset or angry or stuff. But our perception is so very powerful that we can shape our reality through our consciousness and our thoughts and the contracts that we keep on a day-to-day basis. And it's very, very hard to change the mindset of just this simple, temporary, natural realm and light that we all operate in, and we think that we're bound by, but we're not. It is just a temporary, false, just like the federal jurisdiction that's blanketed over through the Buck Act, through the Social Security numbers. Like, it's just kind of like a fake, false federal thing. Well, the same thing with the natural temporary light, the spot with blemishes, the sun with spots and blemishes that deceives the whole world through the two eyes of division. We all have an eye of unity that we can all come from and see through, and those are the two main bodies. But the commercial light basically tracks any and all and actions and anything and interactions between them. So, but yeah, I try not to let the farm bots trip me up too much. Starcy, hey, did you see my questions and video? I have a lot of questions and stuff to go through. It took me a little longer than I wanted to make my last video. And I even kind of screwed up in it. I thought it was so funny. Like, I literally watched me coming through the door wearing that wig probably like 10 times. And I busted out laughing every single time. It's just something about the way I come through that door. It kills me. I don't know what it is. But yeah, if I have your questions, they're in my inbox. It just sometimes takes me a little while to get around to them, but I end up sitting in my bed on some nights and I'll answer all of them, and then I'll be back at 0. But right now, I think my inbox, I have like 99 notifications that I need to get onto. That's typically what happens, and why I only release one video a week, because me and TikTok have a really weird relationship where sometimes they'll let my stuff go out like it used to. They'll let it go out to 20,000, but typically it'll only go out to 6,000 or so. And then when I release that video, I have an onslaught of all kinds of questions and people and new followers and stuff that I got to answer questions, because I use the platform not for profit, and I use it for not selling stuff. I'm just trying to give out good information and help people on a case-by-case basis. And that's also why I try not to hold someone's hand through every single step of the process, because I have learned, one, it takes so much time and effort to do that, and then at the end of the day, the person still doesn't even know. So for instance, if you come at me with some kind of question, that's why I always suggest, and everybody watching the playlists that I've created, and I'll even have people say, I watched them all, and then they'll ask a question. I'm like, that's in video this. Why didn't you watch that? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, but, it's like, look, if you can't handle and grasp the stuff that I'm laying down, it is what it is, and I will help you on that basis. But if you can grasp everything and you're able to move forward and come and ask me questions, if I do all the work for you and then you're confronted, you'll fold in half. If you have no clue what's going on, you have no clue about how any of this stuff works, you can't enforce anything that you stand on, then it's irrelevant. It is completely irrelevant, other than you are learning and gaining and stuff like that. But if you're trying to engage in processes that you can't comprehend or grasp or enforce or basically stand on and understand, look, it took me 13 years to get here. I'm not gonna lie. As far as the studying of the commercial and the spiritual stuff, I've been dealing with nature since I was a little baby, trying to chase grasshoppers and stuff. But for spirit and nature, I'm at Spirit and Commerce. I've been on that walk for 13 years, and it takes a while. It just takes a little while to learn some things, and I have gone through so many wrong paths. That's why I'm on here trying to help everybody, because I see everybody making the simple infantry mistakes that I made in my beginning walk, and it is very, very easy to get misled, misguided, because again, if someone is coming and teaching you authentically and they believe it, you'll believe it, and it's easier to be deceived than it is to teach someone that they have been deceived. But I will get to your questions. Let me circle back like I was saying. So fee schedule is something that you can put out as well. Now, when you're doing a status and standing document, or doing a status document to get standing, and or you're putting out notice to travel, I do not suggest sending out fee schedules to all the sheriffs, all the municipalities, all that. Just kind of denote that any interactions that are beyond a certain point, can cost. Something like that. You always want to come from love, not money, because even though money binds everybody, right, you still want to come from a place of peace and harmony at all times. And it's really, really hard to do that, especially when my kids are crying and throwing boogers and flinging stuff. Like, it is so hard to come from love. I love them to death, but it's like, they're going, man, stop it. All right, for real, Black Swan, though that's how it is, you need to always come with respect. Yes, absolutely. Starseed, oh my God, man, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I'm going through the postal banking process. Okay, yeah, you want to be careful. I don't know if that's one of the things that I teach. That's another reason why I ask everybody to watch my playlist on my profile, because they'll come at me with some half-truth, weird idea that some guru who's a federal agent sent out, and it's getting blasted out to millions of people, and then they come at me and saying, oh yeah, how do I do this endorsement on this this bank receipt or something like that? And I'm like, I don't teach that. That's not me. You need to ask the person who taught you that. If you want to know what I teach, watch my playlist. It has everything in it. And I always tell people it's not a homework assignment. It's just, if you want to engage with me and talk to me and understand what I'm teaching and stuff, you need to watch and learn what I'm teaching. It's just 101. And I'm laying down stuff that is like unshakable. You start getting these foundations and you start growing and building on them, and you're good. You are gold. You are like, man, I'm telling you, you're on the path. But what's good for me might not be good for you, and that's just why I also, a lot of people like to jump, since we're basically electrical bags of water that take the path of least resistance. We always want to jump when there's a fire under our foot, and we don't want to do anything else. Like, our house is getting taken, and all of a sudden, I want to say money's fake, and then contracts are void and fraud and whatever, and you're going to jail and your house is getting taken. Because you don't understand stuff. We haven't been taught this stuff for a reason. The people that control our education and our monetary system and our health and all that stuff, there's a reason why they do not teach everybody this stuff that I'm teaching y'all, right? The public cannot handle these kinds of assets. You cannot give a child a machine gun. It takes baby steps, and we're purposely not taught this stuff because they want capital creating minions that work 9 to 5 until they're 65, and then they can't really enjoy life anymore because they've been fed garbage their whole life, and they're eating and they're in the hospital, and they're basically more of a liability than they are being on the deck plate. So it's like go in the hospital and spend the rest of your savings and your Social Security on medical care and get out the way. Next minion, come on forward. And that's how we're basically all brought up into this system. Wow, 43 minutes already. Through trust, you understand. LOL, for real. Yeah, Black Swan. Starseed, I just cracked the code today, I think. Oh, that's cool. Heck yeah, I'd love to hear about that. And it's all thanks to you. Much gratitude. Well, that's really, really appreciative. I'm glad that you are growing and learning, and I love that we are all in this light together, and we're able to grow and come to different. There's this old parable where 4 people are touching an elephant, and one feels a rope on the tail, another one feels a trunk on the leg, another one feels a wall on the belly, and the other one feels a hose on the nose. And they're all trying to explain it because they're all blind. They're like, oh yeah, it's a hose, it's a wall, it's a trunk, it's all this. And it's like it's the same thing. We're all different parts of the same body. One's a finger, one's a nose, one's a liver, the brain. We're all part of the same body. At the end of the day, and that's how we got to come at this whole thing looking through love. And it's just so much easier when you do that instead of trying to learn all this crazy stuff that's going on out there that is meant to deceive us on all these little rabbit trails that just take all of our life away. And the truth is, I've had a lot of mentors that wish that they didn't spend 15 years in a UCC book, just learning all the public codes. But you know what? I summed up the whole UCC book in one sentence. The only reason to know all the public policies and codes is to understand what corporations are bound by. Like, that's it. Boom. That's all you need to know, right? Now, if you want to bind a corporation in one of those things, look up one of the codes at that point. You know what I'm saying? But if you want to spend the rest of your life learning UCC codes and they will continue to make more and more and more, feel free. You've got plenty of works in front of you. You can study nature for the rest of your life. My suggestion, spirit and equity, okay? When you come from spirit and equity and love, I'm telling you, that is a whole nother level. I thought I knew law. I thought I knew law when I studied common law. I thought I knew law when I started learning international commercial law. But then equity came in, and it was like, boom. And then it just suddenly made sense of why the judge told me what he told me that day when he sentenced me. Is because he was bound by the public policy codes that he has set before him. I didn't set any equity before him. I didn't set or create my own law before him. He's like, I am bound. He's basically saying, I am bound by this. This is what I have to do. Okay? I'm sorry, kind of stuff. And when you come from equity, case by case love basis, sky's the limit. I love it. But yeah, I'm glad I could help you, Starseas. Plant Eater, what's your take on the 5-star passport? So I actually talked to a chief of the Choctaw. Okay, he reached out to me and we spoke for an hour because he's having some issues on a federal level with different jurisdictions trying to go off of an old peace treaty that his tribe was bound by and stuff, or that he's trying to enforce to the federal government. So he has a national passport, and he said it has 4 stars on it that you can only see under a black light. Okay, and because I had never seen one. I had heard that passports only have stars if you are a security risk, and that might mean what it is. But he's saying in airports now. This is a sovereign Indian nation, right? This is the chief 2 eagles of a sovereign Indian nation. He got a national passport. Okay, I just put a denotation on mine that I'm a national, but he got one, and it has 4 stars, not 5. And he said that it has you can only see it on a black light. You put it over, and it has 4 stars on it. So that's all I know about stars. I reached out to one of my old mentors, and he never wrote back because I wanted to get his take on it. But that's as far as I go. And when it comes to issuing and creating stuff like that, the Secretary of State, when it comes to non-citizen nationality, they do not have any security instruments to release of certificates for non-citizen national. They say request it, and a passport will reflect your national status. And he got a national. He said it's blue, not black, which mine is blue. So, mine's blue, but he said his is blue and it has 4 stars on it, and he is basically a sovereign of his own nation, for real. I mean, so we all are, but when it comes to the Secretary of State, that's as far as I know about it. But again, who knows what's on the issuer's computer, okay? So the Secretary of State might have something on their desk that says this guy is a security risk. That's why we're putting 4 stars on him, because he's angry. You know, he is an angry Indian, and I don't blame him. You know, the U.S. is very corrupt and deceitful when it comes to playing people out of money and property and stuff like that, okay? They're very, very sneaky, very, very sly like a serpent, and that's why you got to learn little tricky things like if you're trying to come up with a true sovereign church, you can't apply for a certificate that says you're tax exempt, because once you apply for that little piece of paper, you suddenly get put under all these codes, policies, and statutes when you were already exempt to begin with. And that's like little tricks that and when you get like, well, I'm not going to talk about the OMB numbers right now, but all right, so OMG, I thought didn't know I follow you. WS busy writing the quote about equity. Oh, cool. Heck yeah. That's awesome, Aline Bishop. Let's dance. Heck yeah. Let's dance. Black Swan, how late are you up normally? Want to talk a bit after you get off here. I've been trying to go to bed before 11, but it ends up being like 12 o'clock. Yeah, so I'll be up for another hour or so. And then, yeah, we can chat, or we can chat tomorrow. Them feds are real out here setting people up. Most of them seem to be people that almost got, okay, wow, prison time and made a deal to get off. Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you what. I had no clue how much snitching, like I was always brought up and taught not to snitch. And that's why I even got sent to jail, because I wasn't snitching, you know. And then next thing I know, I go in jail and everybody's snitching on everybody. Everybody is doing something called dry snitching, which means you're not even getting anything out of it. Like, I've seen people try to snitch on stuff just to get, like, a sandwich in there. I've seen people snitching on people's mamas for no reason, just because they were bored. Like, it was like everybody snitching on everybody because one guy got 2 sheets. It's like, oh, no, this guy got 2 sheets on the bed. He ain't gonna allow 1. I'm snitching. And I'm like, dang. They ain't playing up in here. Everybody's snitching on everybody, little kids. It's like an adult daycare up in there. It was wild. Light Warrior, Charles, I have tickets I print. I don't consent without prejudice, UCC 1, and I autograph name. So UCC is copywritten, okay? That is a commercial code that is, whenever you create something, you get to control it. That is someone else's property. That's someone else's code, and it's basically, it's good. It is good to know UCC codes if you're trying to bind a corporate entity into something, and if you want to use that, put a box around it so that you don't give up jurisdiction, and you can use stuff like that. But again, it's only good to understand what the codes are for boxing and binding in other entities. But yeah, Black Swan, I know for a fact you take the prime example of prostitution, okay? You watch all those shows where they put girls out on the street. They're the ones that are creating. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, okay? I mean, like in Turkey, it's legal. They get health care. They register with the state, all that stuff. Different places are different. Well, they put them out on the street. They're the ones creating the problem, and then they come in to solve the issue, okay? They put the girl out there that's a cop, and then the guy gets enticed. He's like probably wants to kill himself because everybody hates him. He wants to have some, getting it on time, whatever. And then as soon as he passes over Federal Reserve notes, if he was passing over gold, hey, it'd be a whole different story. But he's passing over Federal Reserve notes, and game over. And then he come in and get them. They created the problem that they come in and fix. It's like, I don't even want to tell you how deep what I just said goes. Putting out the problem, and then they come in with the solution. Because everybody wants a savior that's someone other than themselves. So they all lean on it. They all eat off of it. They love it. It just is how it is. Light Warrior gave tickets back to the court. They accepted it, stamped, but no response yet. So typically whenever you're doing a procedure like that, and that's basically a lot of the courts, they're bound by administrative procedures, you need to give a notice, and you need to give a response time and date and form. Basically say you must reply an affidavit form sworn to under penalty of perjury under a certain amount of days through a witness, okay? And you got to understand what are exceptions to the hearsay, because hearsay is anything done outside of a public court case, okay? So anything that you do, say, or whatever is considered hearsay. Now, when you're in court, that is not hearsay. And a lot of people don't know this because the rule is, it says basically, few, if any, well-educated and intelligent laymen are schooled in the science of law. And even if they are presented with I don't know how the saying goes, I wish I had memorized it, but it's basically like, even if they're presented with a false affidavit, they might have a perfect evidence to free them, but they need the guiding hand of counsel at every step of the way, or they will go to jail. Is basically how it's summed up to say. It basically, like, none of us are schooled in law, and basically it doesn't matter what the truth is. So when you're in front of a judge in a court case and somebody says, hey, I used to slap your mama with bacon and spit in her face, and even if it didn't happen, if nobody disagrees, it stands as a fact for that court case. It stands as a fact because it's not hearsay. So anything done outside of a public court say. So you got to understand rules, not necessarily federal rules for civil procedure, but you got to understand what's admissible, and you got to understand what is an exception to the hearsay rule to be able to admit evidence into a case. And it depends on if you want to come from your own sovereign position of republic to be able to invoke it through letters rogatory to get filed in camera in chambers to the judge so that he brings that knowledge forward, and then you have to use public proceedings to basically enforce that will that you've given him. But it's all about a bid bond, a performance bond, and a payment bond when you're dealing with the courts. Guys, the audio or the video of this recording will be on YouTube. My audio will be in my Telegram group. All my social medias are linked on my website. My website is linked on my profile page of TikTok. I have auxiliary information on my website, which is anointednewfoundationofpeace.life. You feel free to browse around. Everything's free. I have playlists to help re-educate you. You can email me, DM me. You can call me. All this stuff is free for y'all. I do my best to try to help everybody on a case-by-case basis. Might take a day or two, like I said, to answer questions, but I will eventually try to answer every single person. And trust me, I get my inbox to 0 all the time. So it might take a few days or so, and I do apologize for that, but I am helping a lot of people. And I got other stuff going on. I don't spend 24 hours a day just helping people. Light Warrior. Some websites charge $1,000 for change your status paperwork. Yep, I went through that. I went through that garbage, Light Warrior, and guess what? I have a free one of those on my websites, which was the garbage one that I went through, that is free for anybody who wants to do a status correction course, which is not suggested by me. I suggest doing something called status and standing, and that's basically you declare your status, and then you basically get tacit acquiescence through everybody that you mail it through, and then you can get standing by proof of service, and then you can enforce that. And that is standing. That is what a standing is. Status is what you choose to be in society. It could be anything. You could be the Grand Monk Allah of the Muslim nation or whatever. If that's the status that you want as a sovereign, you can choose that. It's up to you. We've all been taught that we're accidental monkeys flying on a ball aimlessly through space that crawled from soup, and I'm here to tell you that that's not the way it is. You are a divine sovereign spark with the unlimited ability to contract however you want, okay? And we're not taught these things for a reason from our infancy, but if you take time and effort to put in the knowledge and understand the different lights and how everything kind of works on a high level, you'll be unstoppable. Light Warrior said they are fraud. They may attempt or trust account for themselves. Yeah. You gotta be careful when you're dealing with stuff. I typically suggest when you're dealing with a ticket to put it in trust, because everything is in trust and you can enforce trust. In the public, they try to do the duality. They try to do creditor, debtor. They try to do servant and master. They try to do Republican, Democrat. They try to do winner, loser. They try to do plaintiff, defendant. They try to do all that stuff. But everything's in trust. Even when you're dealing with health insurance or whatever, there's a beneficiary somewhere. It's in trust, but you were just not taught trust. So I suggest reading trust. You can put the ticket in trust, and you can send it to the CFO, who is the clerk of court for set-off, settlement, and closure. And then you can enforce that. Even if she doesn't accept the appointed position as trustee, a trust cannot lack for fail of a trustee. So I have a video on trust. I have a video on private administrative procedure. I have a video on some of those things. But again, I suggest watching the playlist I created on my profile. So yeah, you can hit me up tomorrow, Black Swan. That'll probably be a little bit better, because after I get off here, I'm gonna hop in the shower and try to take a nap, because I might end up having a long night. Pale Horseman. How about a deed of conveyance that an attorney wrote for me to execute, and I didn't because it was a contract and proof of him to have me commit larceny, tort? Yeah, that sounds kind of rough, man. So attorneys, believe it or not, they are indoctrinated as well to basically fleece U.S. citizens. They're British accredited registry agents. They're bar members, and they're basically taught to fleece U.S. citizens to get money back to the crown. They are to return people back to the public. And even if you look at the responsibilities and duties of an attorney, their first and foremost priority is to the public. Okay, it's to the court, and then to the public, and then to its client. You are the very last down on the totem pole, and I have that on my Sovereign in Court 3 video. I think that's my most liked video that I've ever made, and it got like 20,000 likes. And I'm like, woo! That's I feel good. I'm lucky to get 400 likes now on any video. It's just so suppressed. I mean, you want to see suppression though? Look on my YouTube channel, y'all. Take for fun. You ain't even got to subscribe to me. Just go glance at my YouTube channel and see what suppression really looks like. I will put a video on YouTube and it will go out to 13 people max. And then out of those 13, I might get one. I might get one like, if I'm lucky. I have tried playing with it where I do custom screens on it, where I do and say different things. It don't matter. It ain't going out to nobody. However, I have seen that they try to keep my traffic around like 20 sometimes going out, and they will give it out to. I've seen one of my videos go out to 1.2 thousand impressions, which doesn't mean anybody's going to click on it, just till it gets to 20 clicks or views, and then it just dies. It's like they want it to seem like they're not just keeping me in a stale, stagnant position, but it's crazy. That's some tough suppression right there. All right, so Pale Horseman tour, absolutely fake. I'm not gonna say that. Discharge court case, GSA bonds. You want to be careful using a general service association type of stuff. We're not authorized to do certain things. We are the authorized representative of the U.S. citizen. We are the basically surety, or is it surety? I don't know if it's. Dang, my brain just glitched. I don't know if surety is the proper word for everything, because a living human has to be the underwriter at the end of the day for all corporations, one way or another. Okay, so you're the underwriter. You're the underwriter and you're authorized representative. I don't know about surety. I don't think that's appropriate. Starseed, I would love to get with you sometime soon, please. Yes, absolutely. I have you in my inbox. I gotta circle back. Feel free, everybody, to DM me at your leisure. If there's something you don't want to ask on here, you can always DM me or ask for private consultations. This attorney is a master commissioner who is a CPA for the IRS. Can I file a blanket lien on his deed of conveyance because it's evidence of probate fraud? I'd have to get a little more in the weeds on that, because typically when they're trying to when they've sent out notices, so the IRS is very sneaky. Okay, even if you have created an administrative procedure that you can enforce on them and win in court, they will still try to act like they're the boss. They will still try to act like they're good to go. And then you got to go through the motions if you want to end up enforcing your will and claim on them, because they are going to, since they're outside of U.S. jurisdiction and they're just basically public accountants to track and trace any and all Federal Reserve notes, which, by the way, is someone else's property. If you're going to be dealing in that, it's military war script. Whenever basically a country or continent gets taken over and conquered, the first thing that goes out the window is the truth, and then they take over the money because they want to make sure nobody's building up arms and ammunition against them. So Federal Reserve notes are military war script, which is someone else's property, and the people that created that says that it has monetary value, even though it's like a debt negative on the public. But if you're dealing in Federal Reserve notes, the IRS are the third-party neutral accountants that are monitoring and tracing any and all actions of that script. So when you're dealing with the IRS, again, you got to be careful, and if you have a good airtight locked case and seal that you're able to enforce, you actually typically have to enforce it, because they will continue to act like it never happened. Okay, even though you have a perfect airtight sealed case and can slam it on them in court. Okay, so that's just kind of how they act, and so that's how the federal government acts as well. Cannot file blank blah blah. Implied surety. Yeah, we are implied surety all the time. Yeah, so I don't think you want to be the surety. We're the underwriter, and we're the authorized representative of the of that entity. Pale Horseman, claim the beneficiary. Yeah, you can take that position. You can be all parties. You can be the grantor, the trustee, and one of the beneficiaries. Whenever you create a trust, there has to be. It can't just be you on all parties, or it's not a trust. Even though uniquely, the IRS classifies the U.S. citizen as an individual trust, okay? But there's more parties at play because the state created it, right? So they're kind of the beneficiary, but you can play the beneficiary role sometimes too. It is kind of a beneficial use of using that limited liability buffer shield to do commerce with and contract with out there in the seas of commerce. Planner authorized user AU gold. Yep, signature too. AU is autograph. All right, guys, I'm at the bottom of my live. I usually stay on here for an hour because my voice kind of gets tired of talking a lot because I don't really take any breaks. And typically when I come on earlier, I drink coffee, but now I'm not drinking coffee, so I can just go at it. So again, a recap of this live will be on YouTube. If y'all want to glance at it and check it and replay it, y'all can save it. The audio file of this live will be in my Telegram group. I typically tell everybody on my Telegram group when I'm going live. If you want to subscribe to me, you'll be able to notice when I go live, or if you want it for free, go to my Telegram group, and I typically, like 80-90% of the time, tell them when I'm getting ready to go live. Feel free to reach out for me to ask any questions. I take emails, DMs, phone calls to try to help everybody on a case-by-case basis. Tonya, executor has the most power. Yes, but I have a video on that. You want to be very careful if you're going to be the executor and you don't have a will expressed, and or if you do that in a public proceeding, you will have big issues if you try to engage in new contracts when on the record you've said that the U.S. citizen is no longer going to be able to engage in new contracts. So you have to have a will in place that basically says it's allowed to, and it has to be in accordance with, guess what, the creators, codes, and public policies and statutes, because typically a dead entity can't start getting new loans, can't open up new bank accounts. You know, it's a get out of jail free card once, but you want to dock it if you do that thing. All right, and the Telegram group is linked on my website, which is on my profile page of TikTok, liver rights. PMA. All right, guys. Love you all. I hope you enjoy your Friday. Thanks for coming on here and being enlightened and enjoying the foundations of nature, spirit, and light with me. I'll try to catch you next time. Feel free to reach out and DM me. Watch this live again or however y'all want to do. Enjoy your night, and thank you for being enlightened. Much appreciated.